Welcome to Drone Pilot MBA.
Great to be here.
Today, we're zeroing in on something absolutely vital for anyone wanting, a real business with their drone.
Yeah. Business strategy.
Exactly. It often gets overshadowed by the excitement of flying, right? We're digging into insights from an article by Tony Marino, commercial pilot, business strategist, and executive producer here at Drone Pilot MBA. He really knows this stuff.
He certainly does. And it's interesting, isn't it? How new pilots, they jump right in, focus almost entirely on the technical stuff.
Totally. Getting the Part 107, buying the latest drone, practicing those smooth shots.
Right. And those things are crucial, obviously. But they're really just pieces of the puzzle. If you want something sustainable, something profitable, you need more.
That's the core issue, isn't it? The excitement about aerial shots is huge. So it feels natural to think, okay, master the drone. That's the hard part.
Mm-hmm. But Tony's article really highlights this. Managing clients, truly understanding your market, building a solid business model. That's what separates the hobbyists from the thriving businesses.
So why does the business strategy part get ignored so often?
Good question. Tony points to a few key reasons. One big one he calls technical overconfidence.
Okay, technical overconfidence. So the idea is, I'm a great pilot. I can fly complex missions.
Right.
Therefore, clients will just, find me. Yeah.
But that's a leap, isn't it?
It really is. Because, as Tony emphasizes, flying the drone and running the business are two very different skill sets. Your amazing footage doesn't automatically teach you how to, say, market yourself effectively or handle the finances.
It's like being a great chef doesn't mean you know how to run a restaurant.
Exactly that. And then there's just, a lack of awareness sometimes. Pilots get certified, they're eager, and the only thing on their mind is landing that first paid gig.
Right. Get some money coming in, which makes sense initially.
It does, but the potential downside is huge. That immediate focus can mean you totally neglect the foundations needed for consistent work later.
Like marketing, pricing strategy, client management, business development. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They get so caught up chasing the next job, they don't build the system to actually generate those jobs reliably.
And I guess time plays a big part, too. People are often juggling this with other things.
Absolutely. Time is always tight. If you've got limited hours, spending them on, say, refining a business plan might feel, less immediately productive than taking a paid flight job that pops up.
Yeah, the ROI isn't instant, or at least doesn't feel like it. Flying pays now, planning pays later. Maybe.
That's the perception. So strategy gets pushed down the list. But, and this is the critical part Tony covers, neglecting it leads to some serious problems down the road.
Okay, let's get into those. What happens when pilots don't invest in the strategy side?
Right. Tony outlines 4 main negative consequences. The first, and maybe the most common, is inconsistent income.
Ah, the classic feast or famine cycle.
Exactly. If you don't have a clear strategy for finding and keeping clients, your income just bounces all over the place.
High one month, dry the next. That sounds incredibly stressful for planning anything.
It is. Financial planning becomes a nightmare. Tony really stresses building proper marketing, doing consistent follow-ups, networking, basically breaking out of that reactive ad hoc approach.
And focusing on repeat business, right? Getting clients who need recurring services.
Definitely. Building those relationships is key for stability. Okay, the second consequence Tony talks about is burnout.
That makes sense if you're always scrambling.
You got it. Running any business is work, but doing it without systems, without efficient workflows. It's just exhausting. You're constantly hustling for the next gig.
Juggling everything yourself, marketing, sales, flying, editing.
All of it. And often, Tony points out, this leads to pilots taking on too much work because they need the income, not delegating, cutting corners on efficiency.
It sounds like a recipe for exhaustion.
It really is. And it undermines the whole point, doesn't it? You need good time management, maybe outsourcing some tasks, having repeatable processes. Otherwise, you burn out. Strategy isn't just about income. It's about building a manageable business.
Okay, so inconsistent income, burnout. What's the third pitfall?
Stunted growth. You might be busy flying jobs, but you hit a ceiling.
How so? Like you can't charge more or get bigger projects.
Precisely. Tony explains it's often down to lacking understanding in key areas: pricing, marketing, sales. If you don't know how to price based on value, you undervalue yourself.
And without marketing, you miss opportunities.
Right. And without sales skills, you struggle to close deals. So you end up stuck doing the same basic stuff, maybe low-paying real estate gigs, instead of moving into more specialized, profitable areas.
Like inspections or 3D mapping or those higher-end media packages Tony mentions.
Exactly. And you're not building those long-term client relationships that lead to repeat work and maybe upselling other services. You're just doing one-offs.
Okay, and the last consequence sounds serious.
It is the risk of outright failure.
Because the industry's getting more crowded.
Yeah, competition is increasing. Just being able to fly isn't enough anymore. You need something that makes you stand out.
A unique value proposition, or UVP.
Exactly. Without a clear UVP, you just blend in. And Tony notes, without the business sense to adapt to market changes or client demands, you're vulnerable.
Poor planning, bad financial management.
Not having a growth mindset. It all contributes. Bad cash flow, ineffective marketing, inability to scale, it can all lead to the business just collapsing. A solid business plan outlining your UVP, your financial goals, how you plan to scale. It's not optional anymore. It's essential for survival, let alone thriving.
Woo. Okay, that paints a pretty stark picture of neglecting strategy. So let's flip it. What happens when pilots do invest the time and effort?
Well, then things start looking much brighter. The first big positive Tony highlights is consistent client acquisition.
So moving from chasing clients to actually attracting them.
Precisely. It's about being proactive, using smart marketing, positioning yourself correctly, building relationships. You create a predictable flow of leads.
Okay, so how does that work in practice? Is it just about having a good website?
That helps, but it's more. It's building a recognizable brand, creating content that speaks to your ideal client, maybe focusing on specific niches, and then nurturing those leads through a sales funnel.
Sales funnel, like guiding them from just being aware of you to actually hiring you.
Exactly. And having systems helps immensely. Things like targeted email outreach, using client testimonials as social proof, maybe automating follow-ups, even forming strategic partnerships.
So you engineer the opportunities instead of just waiting for them. Less stress, I imagine.
Way less stress, which leads nicely into the second benefit, sustainable revenue.
Getting paid well and consistently?
Yes, and that comes from strategic pricing. Not just charging by the hour, but really understanding and communicating the value you provide.
Bundling services, maybe? Positioning yourself as solving a bigger problem for the client?
Absolutely. Moving from just selling drone time to being a solution provider. Maybe offering recurring packages like for real estate agents or retainer agreements for ongoing inspections, charging based on the value delivered, not just the time spent.
And aligning that pricing with your expertise and what the market will bear.
Right. It's about thriving, not just scraping by. You see businesses using value-based pricing where the price reflects the client's ROI, like saving them money on inspections, achieve much healthier profit margins.
Okay, consistent clients, sustainable revenue. What's next?
Scalability, building a business that's actually ready for smart growth.
So not just getting busier, but growing in a structured way.
Exactly. With a strategy, you can confidently expand into those higher demand areas. Tony mentions thermal imaging, orthomosaic mapping, high-end marketing content.
And you can justify raising your rates too, right? As your reputation and quality grow.
For sure. And crucially, because you built systems and documented workflows, you can start bringing on help editors, maybe another pilot, a virtual assistant.
Freeing you up to focus on the bigger picture.
That's the goal. Documented processes, maybe automated onboarding, predictable results for clients. That's what allows for scaling. It leads to more revenue, yes, but also more freedom.
And the ultimate outcome of all this?
Long-term success. Strategy, Tony argues, is what turns a drone side hustle into a real, lasting business.
It's about operating intentionally.
Completely. Having a plan, tracking your numbers, constantly improving the client experience, showing up with purpose. It's how you shift from being just another drone guy to the go-to expert in your niche.
Building that reputation, loyalty, a resilient business.
Exactly. You build something that can weather changes and keep growing, not just based on flying skills, but on solid business foundations.
Okay, this makes a ton of sense. So for the pilot listening who realizes, yeah, I've been focused way too much on the flying, how do they start making that shift? Tony offers some mindset changes, right?
He does, and they're crucial. The first one is embrace the role of CEO, not just pilot.
View the drone as a tool, but you are the business engine.
Precisely. Own all of it. Strategy, operations, marketing, finance, leadership. It means regularly looking at your business dashboard, leads, revenue projections, client retention, thinking big picture, being the visionary.
Okay, CEO mindset. What's the second shift?
Move from a job mentality to a business owner mentality.
So stop chasing gigs and start building systems.
You got it.
Yeah.
Systems for lead generation, onboarding, client nurturing, follow-up, thinking about value delivery, profit margins, scalability. It's that classic difference between working in the business and working on the business.
Constantly improving the machine, not just operating it.
Exactly. Third point, invest in continuous learning, but not just drone tech business knowledge.
Learn the rules of business like you learn the rules of the sky.
That's a great way to put it. Business books, online courses, masterminds, podcasts like this one, workshops, focus on things like sales psychology, copywriting, client retention strategies, pricing, automation. Make learning about business a habit.
It's an ongoing process, just like staying current with drone regulations.
Absolutely. Fourth mindset shift. Focus on problem solving, not just the service itself.
Understand what the client really wants beyond just drone photos.
Right. Are they trying to sell a property faster? Save money on inspections? Showcase a venue effectively? Position your drone services as the solution to that underlying problem?
When you do that, the value becomes clearer and price is less of an issue.
Often, yes. It shifts the conversation from cost to results. Fifth point, set long-term goals and develop a vision.
Have a flight plan for your business, not just wander aimlessly.
Exactly. Set clear goals, revenue, clients, new markets, even personal time off. Then work backward. What steps do you need to take now to get there? That vision provides focus and purpose for your decisions.
Makes every action more intentional.
It does. And finally, Tony recommends surrounding yourself with like-minded entrepreneurs.
Get around people who are also building things.
Yeah. Connect with others who are growing businesses. Have conversations that challenge you, share ideas, join meetups, masterminds, find mentors. That energy and focus are contagious. It accelerates your growth.
That's powerful advice. Community matters.
It really does.
So wrapping this up, the core message seems crystal clear. A solid business strategy isn't just nice to have for drone pilots, it's absolutely fundamental.
Couldn't agree more. It's the difference between a hobby that makes little money sometimes and a truly sustainable, profitable, long-term business.
It goes way beyond just the technical flying skills. It requires that big shift in perspective, seeing yourself not just as a pilot, but as a true entrepreneur.
It's about building something durable.
So if you've been maybe putting the business side on the back burner, focusing mostly on the tech and the flying, hopefully this conversation serves as a bit of a wake-up call.
There's so much potential out there in the drone market, but unlocking it really requires that strategic thinking.
Absolutely. Well, this has been incredibly insightful.
Glad we could dive into it.
Thank you for joining us, and be sure to visit aerialnorthwest.com and get your copy of Tony's latest book, Take Flight. Start a drone photography business under $1,000. Make it a great week. We'll see you next time. Keep on droning.